there was some video that was on Ukrainian television that was never translated or subtitled, and so we're just going to have to read the reporting on it. Boris Johnson derailed Ukraine peace deal, says key Zelensky ally. Now, this was reported but never confirmed from the Ukrainians themselves. Now, obviously, Ukrainian media reporting firsthand that this, in fact, happened. Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson played a key role in derailing a peace deal between Moscow and Kiev, telling Ukraine to just continue fighting. Top Ukrainian MP David Arakhamia has said. Arakhamia, the head of President Volodymyr Zelensky's parliamentary faction, was the chief negotiator at the botched peace talks in Istanbul held early into the ongoing conflict. The MP made the bombshell revelation on Friday in an interview with the Ukrainian 1&1 TV channel. Quote, Russia's goal was to put pressure on us so that we would take neutrality. This was the main thing for them, he said, and that we would give an obligation that we would not join NATO. This was the main thing. However, Kiev did not actually trust Moscow to keep its word and did not want to reach such a deal without third-party security guarantees, Arakhamia claimed, while revealing the lead role in derailing the agreement was played by Boris Johnson. The pivotal role played by Johnson in Ukraine's decision to scrap the draft agreement with Russia, signed by Arakhamia personally in Istanbul, has long been rumored, with initial reports on the matter emerging in Ukrainian media as early as May 2022. Until now, however, it was neither denied nor confirmed by any of the parties involved. So just very quickly here to reiterate, I knew essentially nothing about Russia or Ukraine. I'm a millennial. I grew up experiencing wars in the Middle East, you know, the kind of wars that have made a comeback in recent weeks. So I'm a little more versed in that. I didn't know really anything of what I was talking about in February of 2022. But when I heard Russia's three terms, which was recognition of Crimea as Russian, independence for the eastern separatist regions of Ukraine, and, as this article mentions, a pledge of neutrality for Ukraine, I said, well, that seems like an awfully easy deal to accept and just not have a bloody war over this that is going to kill tens of thousands of people. And now, almost 2 full years later, Ukraine is being pressured into accepting pretty much those exact terms tens of thousands of lives later and dozens of cities leveled later. And so as Boris Johnson, as Jeremy Corbyn said at the start of the war, why don't we just skip the killing part and go straight to the talking part? That ended up being the right take all along, and didn't need to be all that informed to know that. And here we are almost 2 years later. Stupid me, who didn't know fuck all about what I was talking about, knew enough to know that this war was a complete waste of time, a complete waste of money, and a complete waste, most importantly, of tens of thousands of lives.
As a Gen Xer, I did know from the beginning that if we didn't send Sylvester Stallone to beat the shit out of a 7-foot Russian, right, there was no way that the Ukrainians could win this.
Right.
And because Sylvester Stallone was busy with a TV show, I knew it was hopeless. But a lot of people were saying 2 years ago, hey, the Ukrainians are going to lose countless lives for no reason, because you're not going to be able, with a country the size of Ukraine and with the population of Ukraine and with the industrial capacity of Ukraine, to beat Russia. It's just not going to happen. There's no world in which Putin retreats. That's just not going to happen. So why don't we, as Corbyn said, go to the talking part? What this story also tells you is how much all of the conflicts between the left, the so-called left and right, even on an international level, is all just fucking as fake as WWE wrestling. Boris Johnson, the Donald Trump of England. Well, apparently not. Apparently not, because it was on exactly the same page with keeping the war machine going.
That's right. So when the New World Order called, he answered.
He answered. So all this shit, where all the fucking shit libs, you see Boris Johnson? You see how crazy his hair is? I can't believe it. The Trump infection. I can't believe it spread to England. Nah, he's your boy. He's your boy. When push comes to shove, They just feed you that story because it's your favorite story. It's your favorite story. It's Pinocchio. You like to hear that story before you go to bed. You put on the TV and they tell you that story about good and bad. And it's all very clear and black and white. And you feel very comforted by that, especially because most of the people attracted to that narrative are too stupid to be interesting. So you need to have something to talk about. They give you things to talk about to other people because left to your own devices, you have such a total lack of imagination. You could never come up with anything interesting enough for anyone to listen to. So unless you absorb these narratives, you'd be at a complete loss around the water cooler the next day. I'm going to work on an article about this because it honestly infuriates me. I mean, seriously, brother, I'm not old, but I'm older than you, man. Do you know how many times I've seen the fucking non-player character motherfuckers jump up and salute every time the media told them to get behind a war?
Well, I'm old enough to have seen that a few times, too. Yes.
It's just incredible to me. It's just incredible to me that people keep falling for it again and again and again. I saw a tour guide right after the war broke out, walking down the street with a flag. He had replaced his tour guide normal flag with a Ukrainian flag. And I don't know what kind of death wish this guy had to walk up to me and ask what I thought, because he knew enough about me to know what kind of response he. I guess he didn't think it through.
Right.
I said, "What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck is wrong with you?" And he was very. I almost felt bad, because he was a nice enough guy, but. That's it. I mean, a lot of them are perfectly nice people. They just fucking don't think it through. I mean, they're like ants. Like the signal comes over the antenna and that's it. They march off in whatever direction they're told to march off in. And it always winds up enriching the worst people in the world and causing a lot of death and destruction. And this is the most infuriating thing. We covered that the other day. You already have them shifting the goalposts like they never said this. You already have them on Morning Joe. Well, it was never realistic to say that every Russian was going to get out. That's exactly what you were saying, you motherfuckers. Right. That's exactly what you were telling people. This is why everybody, if you're on the kind of populist politics, and I would go so far as to say populist left, populist right, because we tend to agree on things like this, that's why you wind up with a Cassandra syndrome. Because you're always right 2 years ahead of the conventional wisdom.
Right.
You're always getting this enormous pushback. You're a traitor. It's horrible. Don't you care about the Ukrainian people? Yes. That's why I'm saying let's get to the place that we're going to end up anyway before tens of thousands of people are fucking slaughtered. How about that? But you're the bad guy. And then 2 years later, these same people who said that to you are going to be just repeating whatever they absorbed. Well, look, I mean, we need to be reasonable and make a peace now. There's too much suffering in Ukraine. Yeah, you fucking think?
Half a million corpses later, there's too much suffering in Ukraine. Yeah, exactly. Could have just listened to us from the get-go.
Please clap.